Dear students, in the previous video we discussed Planck's law, de Broglie theory. Planck showed wave nature of particle nature of radiation. Planck's law confirms that radiation has particle nature. De Broglie's theory does the opposite. Matter has wave nature. If matter waves exist, what are their properties? Are they like sound waves, mechanical waves? No. Are they like electromagnetic waves? No. Then how to represent a matter wave? What are the properties? This is important. Properties of matter waves. The first thing is, matter waves propagate as group of waves. For any particle, for example, this piece of chalk is in propagation. De Broglie's theory says, now group of waves of this particle are moving. If you ask me, I still see the piece of chalk, not the waves. Yes, with macro object, the matter waves, their wavelength is so small to get rectified. For an electron beam that is moving, it shows wave nature. It behaves as a radiation of wavelength lambda equal to h by mv. Group of waves means the waves are represented like this. The group velocity of the waves is equal to velocity of the particle. These waves propagate with the velocity equal to velocity of the particle that is in motion. Next, how to represent a wave like this? The wave function is represented in complex form by this form. Psi wave function for a matter, for a particle in motion, is given by a sin kx into e power I omega t. K is wave number. Okay. Now, how do you get this for a particle? We have to solve. This is obtained as a solution to the famous Schrodinger's equation. What is this equation? This is equation which is equivalent to Newton's second law in quantum mechanics. If you solve Newton's second law, F is equal to m into a, you get displacement. Here if you solve it, you get wave function for a particle. What does it signify? It represents the location of the particle. Max Born said that modulus of psi square, see this? Modulus of psi square represents probability density. It represents probability per unit volume. The exact meaning of psi is not known, but psi square is very clear. It represents probability density. So for example, if you are trying to locate an electron in an hydrogen atom, you have to calculate psi for that by solving Schrodinger equation, find psi square, find out where the particle is most likely to be present. So because of wave nature of matter, now we have to talk in terms of probability, because the very wave nature makes the position of the particle uncertain. For example, if this is a particle, the particle can be anywhere within this length delta x. Correct? So the notion of exactness does not exist now. This leads to a very important law in physics called as Heisenberg's uncertainty relation. Okay? What is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? How important is it? Heisenberg noticed that de Broglie theory, the quantization concept, leads to uncertainty. In what? For example, imagine an aircraft that is in motion. I want to know what is the position, details of the aircraft. Here is a missile that is moving. Okay? It has to hit a target here. So continuously, we have to track the trajectory of the missile. Tracking means what? Finding velocity of the missile. Its magnitude, its direction. finding energy, finding momentum, correct? Finding position of the missile. So, studying a system involves measuring position, momentum, energy, all these parameters. If a rocket is in motion, to know the rocket's trajectory, we need to know all this. So, measuring position, momentum, all these is very important for any object in motion. If a seismic wave is propagating, if a sound wave is propagating, any kind of motion, we need to know velocity, energy, position, momentum, all these parameters. But what is important for us is, with reference to a common time frame, we have to measure all this. For example, we are launching a rocket. Okay? Rocket after t is equal to 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, what is its position? What is its momentum? What is its energy? What is its velocity? So at a given time, simultaneously we have to measure. Correct? Now, when you try to measure simultaneously all these parameters, uncertainty principle says you can't measure them accurately. Measurement of one will affect the other. You can't measure these variables with unlimited accuracy. There will always be an error. The error is not because of the device, not because of the method. It is because, very important sentence, remember, the act of observation itself changes the phenomenon. Please remember this very important sentence. What is this I am saying? The act of measurement changes the phenomenon. What does it mean? When you try to measure the position itself may get affected. When you try to measure the temperature of an object, the moment you touch it, flow of heat from the object will reduce the temperature of the object. So please look at this perspective. You want to measure something, but the very desire to measure itself can affect it. For example, you want to take my photograph. I am standing here, you want to locate my position. For that, you need to turn on the camera, and the camera has to send photons. The photons should get reflected and go back, and you will see me. You will say, I am at a distance of 2 meters from the camera. But do you know there is an inherent uncertainty? What is it? When you turn down the camera, the photons incident on my body, don't you think photons have imparted a momentum and pushed me back? You may say, no, you are not moving backwards. Yes, I am a bigger person, bigger object. What if there is a mosquito and you fire a bullet on it to locate the mosquito? No, it's not possible. If you have an electron here and you want to see it, you turn on a microscope, you turn on light on it. When the light photon hits the electron gets displaced. But photon says electron is here. But you have moved the electron from its position and its momentum has changed. You understand this? Measurement of position leads to uncertainty in momentum. Without disturbing the situation, the setup, you can't really measure it. So, the act of measurement changes the phenomenon, changes the quantity you are measuring. So, Heisenberg's principle is the only principle in science which highlights this error that is due to the act of measurement itself. Not due to the experiment, not due to the device, not due to the technique, not due to anything. It is because we want to measure it, there is an error that is getting introduced. So, what is the minimum error that will always be accompanied? There is no way you can bring the error to zero, no. Heisenberg's principle says, if delta x is the uncertainty in the measurement of position and delta p is the uncertainty in the measurement of momentum, their product is always, it is never zero, it is given by h by 4 pi. Look at this, uncertainty in position, uncertainty in momentum. To be precise, you must mention x component of this, x component of this. What is this h right hand side? Uncertainty is h. Then what is h? You may say h, the exact position can always be found out. For example, I am holding Duster here and I know its position. But do you know how do I know it? I have to send light beam, gets reflected back, and the light photon tells me Duster is here. But don't you think light beam, when it hits it, pushes it, gives a small, imparts a small momentum? So that way, what measurements we are making, what measurements you are considering them to be exact, they don't really are exact. Now, there is another approach to this. For example, suppose if you have a wave, a matter wave, which we represent like this, okay? Now, I want to locate the particle. The particle location becomes very clear if the wavelength becomes very small, right? Look at this. If the wave is this, particle is more precisely can be located within this. But wavelength is more. Particle is difficult to locate. So we know particle can be located within a narrow region if its wavelength is very, very small. Okay? That is possible if delta x tends to 0. But you know what happens? When wavelength becomes very, very small, what happens to its energy? Formula is lambda. When matter wavelength becomes very small, its energy becomes very high. Its momentum becomes very high. In the process of making its position very precise, exact, the momentum becomes very high. Uncertainty in momentum becomes very high. Correct? If you want to know its exact wavelength, then the wavelength has to be like this. Correct? It should be large enough. Only then you can measure it exactly. But wavelength large means position, momentum becomes the wavelength, large wavelength means you can measure the wavelength accurately, but the momentum may be accurate, but position becomes uncertain. Because particle now has to be found between these 2 points. Correct? If particle's position has to be precise, wavelength should be small. If wavelength is small, momentum is very high, uncertainty momentum becomes high. If the particle's if you want to know momentum accurately, wavelength should be large. You can measure wavelength accurately, correct? But particle will now likely to be present within this large distance. So, measurement of one affects the other. Now, what are the different ways of representing Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? Delta x into delta p greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. In terms of energy and time, Heisenberg's principle can still be related like this. Energy into time is this. The product of these two has the dimensions of Planck's constant. Correct? Now, there is one more way. Measurement, uncertainty in the measurement of angular momentum, uncertainty in the measurement of angular displacement is greater than or equal to h by 4. This Heisenberg's principle in our day-to-day activities, for example, you are launching a rocket. The order of the uncertainty is so less. You may say you can neglect it, yes, but you cannot neglect it when you are dealing with small processes, radioactivity, beta decay, position of electron. You can't really neglect them. It's very, very important. And please try to understand what is H. Why H is coming in right hand side? Uncertainty. H, is it related to uncertainty? H actually represents uncontrolled disturbance that occurs when a photon hits the object. When my position has to be exactly measured, the photons from the camera should hit my body and go back. But the change that is produced by the photon on my body is unpredictable. You can't calculate it, it is quantized. So the very wave nature, the quantization nature is responsible for uncertainty principle. Now, we will quickly use the uncertainty principle to show a very important result. Electrons do not exist inside the nucleus. Why do we need to prove this? Everybody says they know electrons are outside the nucleus, they are revolving around the nucleus. But during beta decay, when the radioactive process, we see electrons, the beta particles released from the nucleus. Does it mean electrons are there inside? They have been there, or are they created at the time of decay? So we will now clearly understand this process and realize that electrons don't exist inside the nucleus. So to show that electrons do not exist inside the nucleus is the objective here. To show that electrons do not exist inside the nucleus. How can Heisenberg's principle be used for this purpose? Yes, Heisenberg's principle can be used to measure lifetime of an electron in the excited state. Heisenberg's principle has a lot of advantages. Correct? Now you will see how Heisenberg's principle can be used here. See here, I'll imagine now this is the nucleus, let us say. We know, see here, diameter of the nucleus is around, let it be 5 into 10 power minus 15 meter. This is the diameter of the nucleus. I will now wrongly assume there is an electron here inside the nucleus. It can be anywhere inside the nucleus. Let us just assume it. Now, if electron is within this region, then don't you think the maximum uncertainty possible is equal to the diameter? The electron has to be found anywhere inside if it is inside, right? So delta x cannot be more than this, right? So delta x is equal to 5 into 10 power minus 15 meters. So now use uncertainty principle to find uncertainty in momentum. Therefore, delta p will be h by 4 pi into delta x. So find out 6.62 10 power minus 34 by 4 pi into 5 into 10 power minus 15 meters. This is around 0.1 into 10 power minus 19 kg meter per second. This is the momentum, uncertainty in momentum of an electron supposed to be present inside the nucleus. If this is the uncertainty, then what could be the actual momentum? Suppose, look at this chalk piece. If 1 millimeter is the uncertainty in the measurement of this piece of chalk, length of the chalk, can I say that the least length, the length of the chalk piece should always be greater than 1 millimeter? Possible, right? If the uncertainty in the measurement of length of the chalk itself is 1 millimeter, it means the length should always be greater than 1 millimeter. So, it is fair assumption to assume that this leads to the momentum should always be greater than this value, right? 0.1 into 10 power minus 19 kg meter per second. So, if this is the momentum, can we use a non-relativistic formula to find what could be its energy? If the electron is inside the nucleus, then what could be its energy? Energy is given by non-relativistic theory, P square by 2m. Correct? Therefore, P square 0.1 into 10 power minus 19 whole square by 2 into mass of the electron. You know what you get? You get around 10 power minus 11 joules, which is equal to say around 200 MeV. 200 MeV. If the electron is inside the nucleus, its energy should be of the order of 200 MeV. If the electron is released during radioactivity, we must find electrons of this energy. Beta particles of this energy are to be produced. If they are inside the nucleus, the uncertainty in position will be of this order, momentum will be this much, so energy will be this much. Now, what is the energy of the electrons that are released during beta decay? What is beta decay? Beta decay is emission of electrons from the nucleus, unstable nuclei. Experiments show, from experiments, energy of the electrons released during beta decay, beta particles, is few electron 1 to 5 MeV, very much less than this. Experimentally, what has been measured is, during beta decay, electrons released are having very less energy than this. That means they are produced at the time of decay, not that they are there inside the nucleus. What process is responsible for this? A neutron decays into proton plus electron into an antineutrino. Antineutrino has been detected. Correct? This process is responsible for the release of beta particles. Their energy is very much less than what was expected from theory. So we can easily conclude electrons don't exist inside the nucleus. So uncertainty principle can always help us in locating the position of the particles, finding their energy. All these parameters can be calculated using Heisenberg's principle. Now Heisenberg's principle introduces the concept of probability. We can no longer exactly define position and momentum simultaneously. Correct? So we can no longer determine energy of a particle and the time duration which remains in that energy state exactly simultaneously. So measurement of both at the same time introduces uncertainty always, and it is greater than h by 4 pi. Now, then how do we find electrons in an atom? Without finding their position, we can't find their energy, momentum. How do we get to know energy level diagram? How do we answer spectra of atoms? All this became possible with Schrödinger writing a differential equation which takes into consideration the wave nature of matter, the uncertainty. Newton's equations do not consider uncertainty, wave nature. They are deterministic. They cannot be applied here. They give completely incorrect values. So now, instead of this, Schrödinger wrote an expression, a different second order differential equation given by dou square xi by dou x square 8 pi square m by h square into E minus V into psi equal to 0. Time independent Schrödinger equation I am writing here. E is total energy, V potential energy, psi is the wave function for the particle. You solve it, you get wave function of the particle. Find modulus of square of this. It represents probability density. So now we must now understand what is Schrödinger's equation. It is a second order homogeneous differential equation. How to derive this? Nobody knows exactly how Schrödinger derived this. But this equation is so useful to study the mechanics of small particles. The wave function that is obtained from this indicates the exact location of the particle. For example, if you have a hydrogen atom, you want to measure its position, momentum, solve this equation. Now, a differential equation will have many solutions, right? Then we have to identify correct solution to a problem. So we call it proper solution or eigenfunction. Of all the possible solutions to this differential equation, the general solution, the one which is physically acceptable, the one which yields finite energy, the one which is continuous wave function, the one which is single value is said to be a function called as eigenwave function. What is eigenfunction? It is the physically acceptable solution to Schrödinger equation. Correct? We will solve this to particle in a potential well problem. We will see what is eigenfunction. What is eigenvalue? Eigenvalue is, it represents energy of a particle corresponding to a wave function. We get both by solving Schrödinger equation. So Schrödinger's equation is applicable for any particle. It accommodates wave nature, the uncertainty. So in a way, Newton's equations are giving us they are only an approximation of this. We can say classical mechanics is only an approximation of quantum mechanics. It is quantum mechanics which gives us the most probable position momentum, accommodating the wave nature, the uncertainty. Now I leave this lecture with a note. If position and momentum are uncertain, then what about current? To measure current, we need to measure velocity of the electrons, right? Does it mean measurement of current there is an uncertainty in a circuit? Is it really valid? How to check it? If you have two parameters which are called as, see this, delta x into delta p. the dimension of these two parameters is equal to dimension of h. Correct? Dimension of delta E into delta T gives the dimension of h. But see this, uncertainty in measurement of I into uncertainty in measurement of voltage will not have this value. Correct? So now we know all these things. How do we calculate? How do we now use this information to study, to locate a particle in an atom? How did the idea of orbital emerge? For example, suppose if this is hydrogen atom and if this is nucleus, and if I say this is the orbit of the electron, what does it really mean? It means the probability of finding the particle is maximum along this path. Correct? The standing waves of the matter wave is like this. 2 pi r is equal to n lambda. You understand this? So the concept of orbital emerges from this. Bohr's theory was proposed to calculate energy of an electron, orbit of electron. The Bohr's values become approximations of this Schrodinger's equation involving wave function, involving uncertainty and wave nature. So that way, each atom is a wave. You can represent an atom by a wave function. Correct? So we need to understand the Schrodinger's equation and its application. In my next lecture,